The Awakening, the Revised Edition, by Lilac Moon. Chapter 35. Arrival on Hoth. Padme gently rocked Bella, having just nursed and burped her. Now she was getting her to go to sleep for the night, as she hummed a soft tune, and her baby's eyes slowly drifted closed. She smiled down at her and gently kissed her head. As Padme continued to hum, she admired the ring on her finger, as she often did when she was holding Bella like this. Anakin had presented it to her 18 months ago, on the same night she had told him that she was pregnant with their tiny daughter. She remembered that night fondly, as she usually did, when singing lullabies to Bella. Flashback. Padme helped her rambunctious 1.5-year-old into his pajamas as he tried to bounce on the bed. "All right, let's settle down, my little one. It's time for bed," Padme told him. Jaden bounced down to his knees and hugged her. "Mummy, will you read me a story?" he asked. "You know I will, my little prince," she replied as she tucked him into bed. Jaden settled down now that he could feel his father's protective presence surrounding him and his mother. Anakin listened to Padme read to him, and they soon noticed their little man was fast asleep. They kissed him good night and quietly retired to their bedroom. She smiled as he wrapped his arms around her from behind and kissed her neck. She was practically bursting at the seams with good news that she had learned earlier that day. She was surprised she'd been able to keep it to herself this long, and was surprised that he hadn't sensed it yet. "Annie, there's something I have to tell you," Padme said. "What is it?" he asked. "I saw a healer in town after lunch today," she said. "Are you okay?" he asked, sudden concern washing over his features. "I'm fine. But I found out that I'm 4 weeks pregnant," she announced, as she gazed up at him, her eyes glistening with happiness. Her husband was nearly speechless as she watched with incredible joy, as an elated smile spread across his face. "Really?" he asked. She nodded and yelped in surprise as he picked her up and spun her around. "That's wonderful! Another baby!" he said in awe. "I'm so happy," Padme said as she kissed him. "Me too," he replied as he kissed her again. As their lips parted, she watched him go to his drawer and dig through it, until he found an item that he was searching for. "I was going to give this to you for our anniversary, but I think today is the perfect day to give it to you," Anakin said, as he presented her with a small velvet box. She opened it and gasped as she gazed at the beautiful ring inside. It was a beautiful heart-shaped sapphire diamond set in a band of silver gold. "Oh, Anakin, it's beautiful," she said. "I could never get you a ring before, so when I started making a little money, I wanted to get you one, even though I know that you always insisted you don't need a piece of jewelry to symbolize how much I love you. But a ring symbolizes a never-ending, which is what my love is for you. Our love is for eternity, and that is what this ring represents," Anakin said as he slid it onto her finger. A few tears slipped down her cheeks. "It's beautiful. I love it, and I love you," Padme said as she wrapped her arms around his neck, and their lips met in a passionate kiss. "Credit for your thoughts, beautiful?" Anakin asked in a whisper as he leaned down and kissed Bella's head, followed by a soft kiss to her lips. "I was just remembering the night I told you I was pregnant with Bella, and when you gave me my ring," she replied. "That was a special night. If I remember correctly, we did a lot of celebrating that night," Anakin said as he kissed her neck, making her giggle. "Yes, we did. Almost as much celebrating as we did the night we found out it was going to be a girl," Padme replied. He smiled. He remembered how ecstatic they had been. They would have been just as happy to have another boy, but to know they were now going to have one of each made them very happy too. "I say we use this time to celebrate some more, being that the kids are asleep and we still have 18 hours until we reach Hoth." "Let the celebrating begin," Padme said. The Millennium Falcon flew through the sky as the desolate surface of Hoth came into view. Hoth was a depressing place, for there was nothing but snow and ice covering the entire planet. As Han slowly brought them towards the Alliance base hangar, his passengers got ready to disembark. Padme bundled their daughter up while Anakin took care of their son. They would be landing inside the base, but the hangar was still cold. Bella fussed as she couldn't move around as much with the bulky cloak her mother had wrapped her in. "It's okay, baby. It won't be for long," Padme promised as they felt the ship dock and the ramp was lowered. General Dodonna and their family and friends were waiting to greet them.
"It's good to see you all again, and it seems like congratulations are in order again,"
the General said, referring to the baby in Padme's arms as he shook Anakin's hand. "Thank you, General. Her name is Bella," Padme announced.
"Well, congratulations to you both again. She's beautiful. I must be going for now, though. I'll let the rest of your family and friends show you to your quarters, and I'll see you at the evening meal tonight,"
he said. They nodded as Leia hugged her father.
"I missed you, Princess,"
he said. "I missed you too, Daddy," Leia replied. "What about me?" Jaden called, jumping up to get her attention. "Of course I missed you, baby brother," Leia said as she picked him up and kissed his cheek. Padme hugged her next, and Bella grinned excitedly at the sight of her big sister. "Oh, I missed you too, little one. I've only been gone a week and she's even more beautiful," Leia said, doting on her baby sister.
"Just like her mother and big sister,"
Anakin said. "Well, let's get you settled in," Sola said as she led them to the residential wing. After freshening up, while Sola, Leia and Satine watched Bella and Jaden, Padme came out dressed in a simple yet beautiful dress that was dark blue through the bodice and light blue through the sleeves and long skirt. She wore her hair down, letting her curls cascade down her back, and smiled at her children. "There's your mummy," Sola cooed as the baby reached for her. "Hi, sweetheart," Padme said as she took her in her arms. "I see Aunt Sola got you all ready for dinner too," Padme said, noticing that she was wearing a little purple dress. "She's all changed too. Now I need to go and get ready," Sola said as she retreated into the bedroom. Once Sola, Leia and Satine were ready, they gathered the children and were off to the dining hall. Anakin, Luke and Ahsoka would meet them there, for they had gone to the Situation Room to be briefed on the latest activity by Rex and Obi-Wan, who had also joined them. Rush's eyes carefully scanned the room as he entered the dining hall. Skywalker was in the Situation Room, dealing with some Jedi business, he was sure, and Rush was going to take the opportunity to properly welcome and greet Padme. Hopefully without the presence of the slave scum she called her husband. And he could make a good impression on her and begin to redeem his image. He spotted her, or at least the back of her, as she talked with Mon Mothma. He made his approach, as Mon and Padme ended their conversation for the time being. He was caught off guard, though, as she turned and he saw the baby in her arms. He suppressed a growl, for he was once again reminded that Skywalker had put his filthy slave hands on a woman of Padme's stature and beauty. He suppressed his annoyance and closed in.
"Padme, it is so good to see you again,"
Rush said. "Senator Clovis?" Padme replied stoically.
"Please, Padme, we've been friends for years. There's no need for such formality,"
he replied. "If you say so," Padme replied, as Bella whimpered. Padme gently rocked her up and down. "You're probably getting hungry, aren't you, sweetie?" Padme cooed. "If you will excuse me, I need to feed my baby," Padme told him.
Rush shook his head. "You surprise me, Padme. It's like you're not even the same person I once knew,"
Rush stated. "Well, I'm not. Marriage and motherhood have changed me for the better," Padme replied.
"You told me when we were together that you weren't interested in marriage and having a family. Yet here you are raising children,"
Rush observed. "Well, when you meet the right person, everything changes, and it changed for the better in my case. Falling in love with Anakin was the best and most amazing thing that ever happened to me. He is the most wonderful, loving husband I ever could have imagined having, and we have a beautiful family," Padme replied, a little perturbed that she was once again having to justify her marriage to Anakin to the persistent senator before her. "Mummy, I'm hungry," Jaden called as he scampered up to her. "I know, baby. We're going to eat just as soon as Daddy gets here," Padme told him.
"The right person? As in that heathen you're married to?"
Rosh spat in annoyance, her explanation having infuriated him further. Padme looked up at him sharply. I don't believe you. I told you that I love Anakin and he loves me. More than you can imagine. But you're sick and obsessed. Not with me, but with what you can't have. You're a spoiled, egotistical bastard that isn't used to not getting his way. Padme spat before continuing. I'm going to say it one more time. I love my husband. You make me sick, and I want you to stay away from us. Padme spat. Rosh was about to retort, but instead he cried out in pain, and suddenly was holding his shin.
Ow! He kicked me!
Rosh exclaimed in outrage as he glared at the small blonde-haired boy. Probably because you're bothering me, and he can sense how rotten you are. Padme spat as Jaden glared at him from behind his mother's skirt.
Is everything okay, Angel?
Anakin asked as he and Luke arrived. Daddy, that mean man is bothering Mummy! Jaden called as Anakin picked him up.
I just came to talk to her and see the new baby, and your brat kicked me.
Rosh spat.
Anakin smirked. He may be only 3, but he knows slime when he sees it.
Anakin retorted.
Look who you're calling slime, you slave trash.
Rosh growled. Padme glared at him. You're pathetic, and you're not even half the man my husband is. Padme spat.
He's not worth the time, Angel,
Anakin said as he stepped towards Rosh.
Stay away from my family,
Anakin warned as they left. Rosh glared at Anakin's back as they walked away. Man, that guy is such a creep, Luke said.
Yeah, I definitely don't trust him. I never have,
Anakin added. I can't figure out why Mon even listens to him, let alone puts up with him, Leia said. Clovis has always been a smooth operator, and it has always frustrated him to no end that his charms never worked on me, Padme replied as she situated a fussing Bella in her arms. Anakin dropped a blanket over her and she proceeded to nurse the baby.
I'll get you a plate of food,
Anakin told her. Thanks, she replied as she kissed his cheek. Come on, squirt, let's go get some grub, Luke said as he picked Jaden up. Leia smiled and followed them to the buffet table, which the kitchen cooks had loaded with the evening meal items. Jaden's eyes slowly drifted closed, and then open again as Padme told him a story. What happened then, after all the clones saved the Jedi on Geon? Jaden said, trying to remember how to say the planet in the story his mother was telling him. Padme smiled. Geonosis, Padme told him before continuing. Well, they were all safe again for the time being, and the Clone Wars had begun, Padme said. Did Daddy have to fight? Jaden asked. Padme nodded and smiled brightly. She had been telling him about a Jedi and a senator that had fallen in love, even though it was forbidden. She hadn't mentioned their names yet, but even at 3, he had already put it together that the story was about his parents. Yes, but before he left for the war, we went home to Naboo and got married in secret, Padme said. You had to keep it a secret? Jaden asked. Padme nodded. Yes, but that didn't mean we loved each other any less. In fact, it only made us love each other more, and we didn't have to keep it a secret forever. We're together now, without any secrecy, and we have 4 beautiful children, including you, Padme said as she kissed his forehead.
Mummy's right, and we're going to live happily ever after, I promise,
Anakin added as he kissed her forehead too. Good night, baby, Padme said as she tucked the blankets in around him and stood up. The next day, while leaving their young children with Solar, Anakin and Padme, along with Luke and Leia, attended the latest Alliance Council meeting in person. As all members took their seats, General Dodonna took point and rose from his seat.
Thank you all for coming. I wish I had better news to report, but I'm afraid we lost contact with our latest spies. They were unable to find out the location of the Death Star,
Dodonna said, sounding very defeated.
Clovis sighed. I will begin searching for new candidates willing to take the risks of trying to infiltrate the Imperial ranks,
Clovis said.
I don't think that's such a good idea,
Anakin replied. Clovis glared at him.
Excuse me, but I don't think anyone asked for your opinion,
Clovis spat. Maybe, maybe not.
But the fact is that all the spies you have hired in the last 2 years have ended up dead is a little more than suspicious to me. Some of them were the highest trained, best spies in the business.
Anakin said.
I am inclined to agree with Anakin.
Obi-Wan added.
As am I. Senator, can you please offer an explanation as to why this is? I can't believe you dare interrogate me about this,
Clovis hissed.
Please answer the question,
Obi-Wan requested.
I assure you that while it is unfortunate that all of our spies have been killed, I had nothing to do with it. Vader is obviously able to spot a fake. After all, it was what you that said that there was some Jedi who could not fool him,
Clovis added.
You're right,
except we checked their report logs, and not one of these spies you hired actually came in direct contact with Vader or the Emperor for that matter.
In fact, each was serving under a different Imperial officer, and yet each one was discovered and executed. And every spy that has been hired by another member of the Alliance is alive and still embedded in the Imperial ranks,
Anakin stated.
How dare you, of all people, imply that I would betray the Alliance, you low-class desert rat!
Clovis spat angrily. You're not going to talk about my dad like that, Luke called out, and Anakin placed a hand on his arm. Gentlemen, please, Mon called. Mon, I will never understand your loyalty to Clovis. His obvious connection to all our deceased spies is suspicious at best, just as my husband said. An internal investigation into Clovis's affairs is warranted, Padme stated. Rush smirked.
You wound me, Padme. This is business for serious delegates. Don't you have brats that need tending to?
Rush acted snidely. Anakin glared at him for that.
You can say what you want about me, Clovis, but I am not letting you talk to my wife like that,
Anakin asked sternly. This is getting us nowhere, Mon called. I recognise that it is very disturbing that all our spies hired by Clovis have ended up dead, but I do not believe that he has deliberately betrayed us to the Empire, Mon stated.
Rush smirked. Thank you, Mon,
he replied, but I believe we will be asking for someone else to hire people to infiltrate the Imperial ranks from now on, Mon added, making Clovis frown. I think that Master Kenobi is more qualified to hire someone we can trust, Mon stated. Obi-Wan nodded.
Since we don't know what the Empire knows, and since these deaths have been so mysterious, I believe we should begin a much more rigorous patrol to search for probes,
Obi-Wan suggested.
I agree, Dodona added.
It's settled then. I leave that to you, gentlemen, and adjourn this meeting, Mon said as they dismissed.
Go get ready for sparring, and I'll be there soon,
Anakin told Luke, as Obi-Wan held Anakin and Padme back.
There's something I need to talk to both of you about,
Obi-Wan said. What is it? Padme asked.
I spoke with Masters Yoda and Windu this morning, and they believe it is time for Luke to visit Master Yoda on Dagobah,
Obi-Wan stated.
For his trials?
Anakin asked.
Perhaps, or at the very least a precursor to his trials. Luke's training has been unlike any other Jedi. Master Yoda wants to evaluate him personally. As you know, he is wary of Luke being trained at all, due to his age, and he's not fond of your decision to allow his attachment to family,
Obi-Wan said. Anakin shook his head.
Look, I have the utmost respect for Master Yoda, but he's not going to tell us what's best for our kids,
Anakin said.
I know, but do you have any doubts that Luke cannot prove himself to Master Yoda?
Obi-Wan asked. Padme smiled and looked at her husband, who smiled back.
No, he'll do fine. We'll tell him that he'll be leaving for Dagobah in a few days,
Anakin replied.
Good. I know how much you'd like to go with him, but this is something you must do alone,
Obi-Wan insisted. They nodded and followed him out. End of chapter. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed that one. I like that chapter.
And little Jaden giving Rush a kick. You go, little man!
Oh, I love that. I really do. And Luke's getting ready to visit Dagobah soon, so we'll see how that goes. Anyway, you guys know the drill. Like, comment and subscribe and hit that bell to get notified whenever I upload a new video. Have a good day, night, or whatever time zone you're in. Bye my guys, gals and non-binary pals. I'll see you in another video. Take care.